lesson 1.3 is piecewise defined functions. And if you want honesty from me, this is newer to the standards. I don't know that I've ever taught a lesson just on piecewise functions. Okay, this is something that's newer to the standards. You've probably, I've worked with piecewise functions here and there, but more at the pre-calc and calc level. You may have seen them a little bit, but we're really going to kind of dig into being able to graph them today, being able to write the piecewise defined function. Those are the two big things I'm going to work on. So, as we talk about a piecewise defined function, here's a graph example, guys. A piecewise defined function is all three of these pieces. You'll notice it's not just one continuous flowing graph, okay? There's a break in this one, there's a hole here where it's a not filled in dot. This is a piecewise defined function. When we go and try and write an equation for this, because there are three different pieces, so three different equations happening, you have to have three different equations. Now, we're going to keep it basic in that each of those three pieces is a line. And I would like to think you have some Algebra 1 skills left inside of you that tell you how to write the equation of a line. I'm hoping. If not, guess what? It's gonna come back to you because we're going to review it as we go today. So, this piecewise defined function, as crazy as it may look, like this red correlates to that. And what that's saying is that, okay, the equation of the line is y equals 7, but that only goes from the x values from -5 to -2. The equation of the blue, I would say more like -x plus 5 is what would make sense to you guys. And then the equation of the green, 2x minus 3. So that's the stuff we're going to work with today. I'll be honest, I'm not sure how this lesson's going to go over. Either it'll go okay, or, it'll be a big disaster. But we're going to see. So, by definition, a piecewise function has different rules for different parts of its domain. And that's what we're looking at here. This has three parts, so there are three pieces of the equation that technically all go together to make one function. Okay? So, follow along with me. Ask questions if I'm, doing something and I'm losing you. Okay? But we're going to jump right in here, and we're going to try and graph this piecewise function. As I said, I tried to keep them very basic today. So, if I start with this equation right here, f of x has these three pieces. Each piece exists with certain x values. So we're going to start with the top piece, which is 3. And what that means is that is the equation. You can think f of x equals 3. But I also know as a teacher that your brains work better if I say y equals 3. And so, okay, how do I graph the equation y equals 3? Maybe this isn't the best piece to start off with, but what's an equation of the line y equals 3? Or what's a graph of the line y equals 3? Do we remember? What are you saying here?
Like a line across 3y from the y-axis.
Okay. And he's holding his pin back there horizontally in the process, or at least that's what, I don't know if he was meaning to do that, but that's what it looked like to me. Okay, so it's going across horizontal, and it's going across where y equals 3. So now, don't write this whole thing in yet. But what I'm going to show you right now is we would count up, okay, let's see, which one's our x and y axis? There's y axis. 1, 2, 3. If we were graphing the whole line, whoops, it's kind of funky there. If we were graphing the whole line, this would be the whole line. Do I want that whole line?
No.
No. I only want that line on what x values? From -4 to -1. So if you're someone that wants to draw the line in pencil, you could do that. But then we need to erase parts of it, yes? Because we only want it from -4 well, actually, I'm not even going to write that right there. But -4 to -1. So, where is the x value of -4? It's right there, yes?
Yeah.
So that's going to be my left end because negative 4 is the x value they give me here. Where's an x value of negative 1? Right there. So that's going to be my right end. So on my screen, that means I'm going to erase everything past it. Does that make sense? Now, I'm not sure how well this erasing is going to go because... yeah, okay. So I'm just going to kind of redraw it in. Did I get it right there? So we're at the 3, and we're going from negative 4 to negative 1. Now, one of those endpoints needs to change. Got it, Aaron?
Yeah, the negative 1.
What do I need to do with the endpoint at negative 1?
Color it in.
We're going to color it in. Why did he know to color that in?
Yes. The sign.
Because the sign. The sign said at negative 1 it was less than or equal to. Okay? When it has, gosh darn it, when it has that little line under the less than sign, it's saying we want a filled in dot. It's saying that the number negative 1 is included at that point. Remember that. You're going to see that vocab on homework. Negative 4, is there an equal to under that line? Under that sign? No. So then we use the open circle. And the open circle says that negative 4 is excluded. It goes all the way up to negative 4. So negative 3.9999999, but it does not include negative 4. Okay? Okay, so we got my purple piece, yes? Okay, I'm going to find a different color here. We'll go green. And now we're going to go with y equals negative x. We need to graph that. Okay. What are we saying? I heard mumblies. I just can't really fully hear them with the fan blowing up here. So must be Leighton that's back there mumbling.
He said negative 1.
Okay. Negative 1 is, and there's a negative 1 in front of the x?
Yeah.
I agree. We are going to think of that as negative 1x. And if I wanted to add a number on here, what number can we think of that as? Plus 0. Why did I write it like that? What form did I just put that in for us? Y equals mx plus b? Oof. I'm drawing out these Algebra 1 skills big time. Do we remember how to graph with y equals mx plus b? We're going to use that a lot today. Okay. Here's your recap. Y-intercept. What is my y-intercept? B. Does this sound familiar? So that means we're going to have a y-intercept at 0. So if I was graphing this whole line, I would have a y-intercept at 0. Now keep in mind, I might have to erase part of this. Okay? So we're going to have a y-intercept at 0. And then what's my slope? That negative 1 that Leighton mentioned. Now, when we talk slope, I always ask, what is negative 1 as a fraction? Okay. Negative 1 over 1? What's my helpful phrase for graphing slope?
Rise over the bus.
See, it's, you guys think you don't know this, but it's all in your brains. You just got to pull it all together. Okay, so what that means is from this point, from my y-intercept, rise over run. So I'm going to rise negative 1, which means I'm going to go down 1, and then I'm going to go right 1. Down 1, right 1. Down 1, right 1. Down 1, right 1. We can also reverse it and go up 1, left 1, up 1, left 1. I probably have more dots than what I need. But, do you see why I did that?
Yeah.
I'm trying to see where my line goes. Now, where does this line exist as part of this function? If it was just y equals negative x, we would draw the whole line and be done. Where does this line exist?
Only to 2.
From 0 to 2. So do I have some extra dots in there I don't need?
Yep.
I do. So from 0, when x is 0, to when x is 2. So right here is where my graph exists. Okay? The other dots are extra. Whoops. And then, every time we graph one of these, we have to ask ourselves, leave the dots open or fill them in. This is where Gatlin just told me that both dots are filled in. They're closed because they have equal to markings. Okay. We got one more to do, yes?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm going to go with red.
Yeah.
Okay. I am going to have to leave room somewhere to write domain and range at the end. I don't know where, but actually, I'm going to put this equation over here just because of my room. So, negative x plus 3. So what do we know about y equals negative x plus 3? 3 is my y-intercept. So, again, might I have to erase this at the end? Yes. But I'm putting a little dot there, and it's very little, to get me started. Okay, because I'm going to have to work my way over to wherever I need to be. What's my slope? The invisible number in front of x, which is negative 1. Negative 1 is a fraction, or any number is a fraction, and you put over 1, so negative 1 over 1. So, what I would do is from this dot, I'm just going to kind of make dots along the way, maybe real small dots. I'm going to go down 1 over 1, down 1 over 1, down 1 over 1, down 1 over 1, down 1 over 1. Okay. And if you've looked ahead, you can kind of pick which dots you need to do, can't you? So, in general, if I needed the whole line, we just connect all those dots, right? But I don't want the whole line. What does it tell me to use? 2 to 4. So where my x values are 2 to 4, we're going to keep those dots. So I'm going to count over 1, 2 on the x. So I'm going to need this dot, 3, 4. And I'm going to need that dot. And I'm going to connect between them. Crud. Okay, let me put, the habit I should be in is I put an open circle until we decide if we fill it in, shouldn't we? Okay, so I need those 2 dots. I'm going to connect between them. Technically, that means these other dots can, oh, no, 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 no. Oof, that was about bad. Okay, these other dots can disappear. Trying to erase them without messing up the whole thing. Do I fill these dots in or no?
No.
It's not equal to, because this is saying x is between 2 and 4, but not equal to them. Technically, I shouldn't have the little dot inside of the circle, but I'm not going to try and erase that. Okay. You have just completed your first piecewise graph. Okay? They take a little bit. I'm not, it's not just look at one line and graph it and be good. They take a little bit to process through. Now, we do need to talk domain and range. When I was looking at the homework last night, everything I saw when they asked you domain and range, they said to put it in interval notation. Okay? Now, domain are what kind of values? The x's, yes? Domain are your x's. Well, I'll be honest. You can kind of use this right here to help you figure out. Okay? What's the first x value we had to use today? We went from -4 to -1, didn't we? And then we had a gap, because then we jumped from -1 to 0. So -4, we start at -4, and we go to, that's supposed to be -1. -4, is it included or excluded? In other words, do I want a bracket or a parenthesis? You remember this from the...
Wait a minute.
This goes back to lesson 1, which was kind of a disaster, but...
I got it.
What do we do for an open circle?
Yeah, parentheses.
Parenthesis. What do I do about -1 that has
Bracket.
a closed circle?
Bracket.
We do bracket. So that's part of our domain. So as we move left, where's the next x value our graph exists at? And that is where? That's here at 0. So now we're going to start with 0. Parenthesis or bracket. It is equal to, it's a filled in dot. Now, my green graph goes to 2. But what do you notice about the red graph? It picks up at 2, doesn't it? So, and since 2 is filled in here, we can actually go ahead and say, and put this all together and say 0 to 4. Because are all x values used from 0 over to 4? There's always some kind of piece of the graph here, isn't there? And so I'm going to say 0 to 4. I can do that because 2 is included here. So 0 to 4. And then is 4 included? It is not. It is excluded. I don't know. How'd that domain go?
That's alright. So, can I like? Do I have to do that?
Well,
Why?
there are some questions in homework. Not all of them, but there are a few questions in homework that include domain and range.
I know. I'm talking about like what we did at the end. Like the shortcut.
It doesn't count as a mistake. We don't.
Oh, like if you go 0 to 2 and then 2
Yeah,
to 4?
Can I write in each chapter?
I don't know.
CJ?
It would not surprise me if they count that as a mistake.
That's right. Where are you going?
I'm just being honest. Okay? I'm just being honest. It would not surprise me if they count that as a mistake. Gatlin?
Was there a test that they have? Like something that there's a dot circle that would be kind of knocked out.
Kind of like I did here?
Yeah.
Not necessarily. As long as I can tell you are intending an open circle. If I can tell your intentions. And my thing, I would erase it if I could. It's just, I guess even with a pencil eraser, it's hard to erase that dot once you have it, or I have it in there. And this is me. I'm trying to figure out, how do I teach this? How do I explain it? And what's an easy way for you guys to do this? That's what I'm trying for here. So, okay, we still have to do range on this problem. Range are my y values. We at least have that in our brain, right? We at least have the y values, right? We know it's y. Now, This one's a little harder if you ask me, because I don't have a list of numbers to cheat off of. That's kind of what I'm doing. I'm kind of cheating here and just using these numbers. So, we have to look at our graph. Now, we always want to start low. So, if I think about like taking a horizontal line up here, where is the first time I hit a y value, or I hit a point? This green piece right here. And what is the y value of that dot? -2. So my range starts at -2. Is that -2 with a parenthesis or bracket?
Right.
Bracket because it is filled in. Now has a blue little dot in it, but okay. Now, as we move up, we know for sure that this green line goes up to 0, doesn't it? But then, notice, isn't the red line kind of overlapping in terms of y values? Yeah. How high does this, so if we keep going, because right here we would say this goes from -2 to 0, but keep going, because the red, it kind of overlaps starting at -1, but it goes how high? It goes till +1.
Positive.
So we're going to say -2 till +1. And then there is a gap there before my purple graph starts, isn't there?
Yeah.
Does +1 use parentheses or brackets? Parentheses. And, okay. What's the next time we have a graph and a y value? The purple level of 3. Now, what do we know about that purple graph?
It's flat.
It's a horizontal line.
Yeah.
Does it use anything else other than 3 as a y value?
Nope.
No, the equation was y equals 3. Y can only equal 3. And so 3 is the other part of this. You will either get to just leave 3. I think you maybe just get to leave 3 like this based on what I was seeing. What I was seeing in the book. Or they might have you put on, they're called braces. It's the squiggly parentheses that you guys are all going to complain, I can't draw those.
Yeah. Can't.
Okay, so it can either be a plain 3 or it could be a 3 in the braces. And honestly, you put a squiggly line, I get it. I know what your attempt was. And I will accept an attempt. Okay. Maybe? It did. I'm realizing that now. But had I gone too fast, I don't know, did I lose some of you anyways?
No, I understand.
Maybe.
Yeah, Leighton's
We're kind of borderline.
Leighton's lost.
Okay. So, we should probably practice with this next one to try and figure out what we're doing.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so there's part of me that says, that took a long time. Let's skip to the next one. However,
There's a
we need to know how to do it, don't we?
Yeah.
Okay.
fraction.
Well, yeah. The fraction is a good spot. If I'm going to have a fraction, what fraction is that spot in of?
Slope.
That's slope. Isn't it slope as a fraction okay?
Yeah.
It is. Now, I discovered a typo after I copied these this morning. Will you put an equal to right there with your 0? I don't think that equal to is on your page, is it?
Nope.
It was a typo I discovered right after I copied these. I was writing out my key this morning, and I discovered that. I was like, oh, no. So,
That one's gonna have a filled in.
okay. So,
So it's supposed to be good.
huh?
It's supposed to be.
Yes. Yes. Go with this is accurate. Okay. Are we ready? I'm color coding for you. My purple is y equals 1/4 x plus 3. What do we know?
do that. The wires.
Okay. And this is where, I don't know, put a real faint dot or something till you figure out what we're doing here. But we know we're starting on 3. Whether that dot is part of my answer, I don't know. And then what kind of slope do we have?
1 over 4.
And so that means I'm going to, I heard something about up back there.
Up 1.
Okay, we're going to rise 1, run 4. So, from here, I'm going to go up 1 over 4. Now, if I go back and glance at where I need to be, I probably need to reverse that, don't I? Because I need to be over between -2 and 0. So, let's reverse that since we just went up 1 over 4. Equivalent is going
Negative 1 down left.
down 1, left 4. Okay. Are you guys seeing those dots well enough for what we're doing right here? Realizing they're not staying, they're just kind of my placement dots. And some of you may not need the placement dots. Some of us need them. Okay, now, where are we supposed to be at? 0. Okay, I got 0. Okay, 0. That's kind of an overkill on the big circle. -2. Yeah. So a dot didn't land up on -2, did it? But is it directly in the middle of my pieces there? So if we went down 1 over 4, what happens if you only go over 2?
You're down half.
You would be down a half.
Yeah.
Okay? It's kind of awkward, but it is what it is. Now, we're going to connect that line. Okay, this guy is like way too big. There we go. These other 2 dots can go by the wayside. Do I need to fill in either of my 2 dots at the end point?
Yeah,
Yeah, you need to fill in the 3.
Okay,
The what?
the 1 at 0. I was thrown off momentarily when I said 3. I'm like,
Stays open.
okay, -2 stays open because it's not equal to. 0 fills in because that was the typo, yes?
Yep.
Okay, that was the hard part of this one if you ask me. Okay, changing colors. Do you remember how to graph y equals 2?
Yeah.
We're gonna do what? What's y equal to? There's no x in the problem, so it is a
Hold on.
horizontal line.
Infinite.
Okay. And I know last time I said, okay, it's like 0x plus 2. But just realize it's a horizontal line. So it's going to be a horizontal line right here at 2. And, you know, we could fill in lots of dots here, couldn't we? Oops, that was not even really a dot. That was... Where are my endpoints?
0 and 4.
So I have an endpoint here at 0. 1, 2, 3, 4. Why am I hearing a phone? What do I do now?
You connect them.
We're going to connect them.
And then you color in
Am I going to color anything in?
4.
It says equal to 4, so we're going to color that one in. We're going to leave the other one open. And I'm going to get rid of, gosh darn it, those 2 extra little points. Maybe. There we go. I don't know, is this a little easier the next time through?
Yeah.
Did you know a little bit about what you're doing? I don't know. Okay. Next one is stated as y equals 3 minus x. I don't know about you guys. How do you feel about that form? Some of you are fine with it. The rest of us? What would make this work better for your brain? To flip it? If I put the x first and the 3 second,
Yeah.
and then it's a what kind of x? Negative x and a plus 3? Some of you don't need that. You're saying that's overkill. That's fine. The rest of us, we're going to do it because some of you do need it. So this time we have a y-intercept of 3 and a slope of -1, which -1 is a fraction, is -1 over 1. Okay. We need an intercept of 3. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, it's there on my purple dot already. And we need a slope of what? -1 over 1. So I'm going to go rise -1, run 1. Down 1, right 1. Down 1, right 1. Down 1, right 1.
Kylie Kenny, can you return to your classroom, please? Kylie Kenny?
Okay. There's my down 1, right 1. Way more times than what I needed, right? I did, but realize I'm going to erase some, yes? So, are you guys realizing that as you do this on your own, can you look ahead to how far you need to go and not do all the extra?
Yeah.
Yes. But I'm trying to teach for all levels, and I'm trying to make sure you guys realize, okay, worry about getting the line, and then how far do I actually need to go? So we need to start at 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 is going to be this dot here. 5, 6, 7. Those are my 2 endpoints. Because we need to go from 4 to 7. We're going to connect in between those. We're going to get rid of a few extra dots because, yes, I did overkill, but that's my teaching style.
The 1 on the 4 stays. Wow.
4 stays open,
Yeah.
Gatlin says.
Yep, I agree.
7's going to close and be included. Okay. And I understand if I see some other little sketch marks and stuff on your paper, but I need to be able to tell what your final graph is. Okay? Before we move on, we need to talk about domain and range. Domain being what kind of values? And range being y. Okay. Try the domain. And you can look on the graph. I think it's, it's probably easier to look at your numbers up there that they gave you, right? But it's starting at the left and going right. What's the first x value we used?
-2.
-2. Do we want to use a parenthesis or a bracket with -2?
Parentheses.
We want parentheses because it was not equal to, it was an open circle. Comma. Now, as we go over, if I look at the graph here, and I know you guys are looking at the numbers, this goes -2 to 0. But then what do we know down here? This other graph starts at 0. And 0 is included, right? So can I keep going?
Yep.
Yeah. So this goes 0 to 4.
And then it goes that one.
But then this graph picks up at 4, doesn't it?
Yeah.
4 is included here, and this graph goes up to 7. So your domain this time can be listed all as once. because as I moved across, it always connected, right? No gaps. -2 to 0, 0 to 4, 4 to 7. And what'd you put on 7?
Bracket.
A bracket, because it's equal to. Okay. Range. How low is my lowest y value? My lowest y value is right here.
-4.
1, 2, 3, 4 now. Bracket or parenthesis?
Bracket.
It is a filled in dot. Okay. Now, I'm moving up. I'm moving up.
Oh,
My red graph stops right here. Where this red graph stops,
negative.
is there another graph picking up at the same y level? No. So we're going to have to end this piece of the range at the y value of -1. And I heard with parenthesis. Okay. Bless you. As I keep moving up, where's my next graph I run into?
2.
Yeah, my green graph has a 2. Now, the green graph just has a 2, right?
Yeah.
Because that was the y equals 2. Does my purple graph pick up at 2?
Nope.
No. So 2 is just a number by itself. You can either just write a plain 2, or you can try your hand at the funny braces. Okay. So now we're up to purple line. What is the lowest y value on that purple line?
2.5.
Remember that was at a halfway point. So that was 2.5. Parenthesis or bracket?
Parenthesis.
Parenthesis, because it's an open circle. Then how high does that purple line go?
3.
That y value of 3, which is going to have a bracket. Okay. I don't know you guys well enough to read you. I'm seeing some success.
I
I'm
understand.
seeing some not sure.
I got it.
I'm not sure everyone's sold on it yet.
I got it.
Okay. So, listen up, please. Obviously, you know, in my brain, I'm always thinking, okay, sure, yes, we can get through these notes. And really, I don't have a lot of examples, but I didn't anticipate how long it's taking to teach it. So, I will plan to finish the back of these notes tomorrow, and that will make the homework not due till Monday. Okay? Now, you'll notice on the back side, we get to reverse what we were just doing, right? Which I don't know if that's going to be easier or harder. It could actually, I don't know. So we're going to reverse it. We're going to have to pull our y equals mx plus b from there and go from there. Okay? So we'll pick up there tomorrow. Homework is out there in Savas if you want to start looking at it.
Yeah.